My daughter-in-law threw the cake I made for my grandson in the trash and tasted regret. It was 2:47 in the morning when I finally slid the cake into the refrigerator. 3 layers of chocolate heaven. Homemade buttercream frosting. The real kind. Made with actual butter. Not that stuff from a can. Dark chocolate ganache drizzled over the top. And across the middle layer, in careful blue piping, Lucas's favorite color, I'd written, "Happy birthday, Lucas," in letters that took me 20 minutes to get just right. My hands were covered in flour. My back was screaming. I'd been on my feet for 4.5 hours, and I had to be up again in 3 to finish the alterations on Mrs. Chen's bridesmaid dresses. But I didn't care, because today, technically was my grandson's 6th birthday. And I'd promised him a chocolate cake made by Grandma Mari. Not from a bakery, not from a box. Made by me. I washed my hands, turned off the kitchen light, and went upstairs to my room. The guest bedroom. The room that had been mine for 5 years now, ever since I'd moved into my son's house in West Hartford to help out after Lucas was born. I fell asleep thinking about Lucas's face when he'd see that cake. The way his eyes would light up. The way he'd throw his arms around my waist and squeeze. I had no idea that 12 hours later, I'd be watching my daughter-in-law throw that cake into the trash like it was nothing. Quick pause here. If this story is hitting close to home, if you've ever been taken for granted by the people you love most, please subscribe to this channel. Stories like mine need to be heard. Thank you for being here. Now let me tell you how I ended up in that kitchen at 3 in the morning, and how everything fell apart by noon. Let me back up 5 years. My name is Marian Hartman. Everyone calls me Mari. I'm 58 years old, and I've been a seamstress for 32 years. I work from home, always have. Wedding dresses, alterations, custom orders. It's not glamorous work, but it's honest work. And it kept me and my late husband Frank comfortable for 3 decades. Frank died 7 years ago. Cancer, lung cancer, even though he never smoked a day in his life. He went from diagnosis to gone in 4 months, and I went from being a wife to being a widow at 51. My son Michael, technically, but he's been Mike since grade school. He was 25 when his dad died. Just starting his career as a mid-level manager at a tech company in Hartford. Good job, good salary, good kid. He met Ashley Bradley a year after Frank passed. She was 23, blonde, beautiful, and according to Mike, the one. They got married in 2018, small wedding, just family and close friends. I made Ashley's dress. Took me 6 weeks. She changed her mind about the style 4 times, but I didn't complain. She was going to be my daughter-in-law. I wanted her to be happy. Lucas came along a year later, in 2019, and that's when everything changed. Ashley was 24 when she got pregnant. She'd been working as a marketing coordinator at some startup that went under about 3 months before Lucas was born. She didn't look for another job. She said she wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. Focus on her brand. Her brand, as far as I could tell, was posting photos on Instagram and calling herself an influencer. She had about 1,400 followers. When Lucas was born, Mike called me from the hospital. "Mom, we need your help. Ashley's overwhelmed. The baby's not sleeping. She's exhausted. Can you come stay with us for a few weeks? Just until we get the hang of things." A few weeks. That was 5 years ago. I sold my little apartment in Hartford, the one Frank and I had lived in for 20 years, and moved into Mike and Ashley's house. They'd bought it 6 months before Lucas was born. Big colonial in a nice neighborhood in West Hartford. 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, finished basement. The kind of house I dreamed about when Mike was little but could never afford. What Mike didn't tell Ashley, what he'd asked me not to mention, was that I'd given them $60,000 for the down payment, money from Frank's life insurance, money I'd been planning to use to buy my own small house someday. But Mike needed it, and I loved my son, so I gave it to him. The arrangement was simple. I'd live in the guest bedroom. I'd pay $800 a month to help with expenses. I'd watch Lucas during the day while Ashley worked on her brand and Mike was at the office. I'd cook dinner most nights. Help with laundry, light housework. Temporary. Just until they got on their feet. except they never got on their feet. And temporary turned into 5 years. At first it was fine. I loved being close to Lucas. Loved watching him grow. Loved the way he'd toddle into my room every morning and climb into my lap while I had my coffee. But slowly, so slowly, I didn't even notice it happening. I went from being grandma who was helping out to being the hired help who happened to be related. Ashley stopped saying thank you when I cooked dinner. She started leaving lists. Mari, can you make chicken tonight? Mike likes your roasted chicken. And can you pick up dry cleaning? And Lucas needs new pants. Can you hem those jeans I bought him? She stopped asking, started telling, and I kept saying yes. Because that's what you do when it's family, right? You help. You sacrifice. You put their needs before yours. At least that's what I told myself. The money started disappearing too. Small amounts at first. Mari, can I borrow $300? My car needs new tires. I'll pay you back next week. She never paid me back. Mari, I'm short on my phone bill. Can you spot me $200? Never paid back. Mari, there's this conference for influencers in Boston. It's $500, but it could really help my brand. Can you help me out? Never. Paid back. Over 5 years, Ashley borrowed $3,400 from me. I kept track in a little notebook in my nightstand drawer. Not because I was planning to ask for it back, but because I needed to see it written down. Needed proof that I wasn't crazy. That this was actually happening. The housework got worse too. At first, Ashley would do some cleaning, some laundry, some cooking. But by year 2, she'd stopped completely. I was doing it all. Cooking every meal. Doing everyone's laundry including Mike's work shirts and Ashley's delicate influencer clothes that had to be washed. Cleaning bathrooms, vacuuming, grocery shopping. Meanwhile, Ashley spent her days taking photos of herself, posting them online. Going to networking lunches with other women who also called themselves influencers, and also had fewer than 2,000 followers. She'd come home at 4, an hour before Mike got back from work, and she'd rush around the kitchen pretending she'd been cooking. I'd have dinner ready, she'd plate it. Mike would walk in, kiss her, and say, "Smells amazing, babe, you're the best." And I'd stand at the sink, washing the pots I'd used, saying nothing. Because what was I supposed to say? Actually, Mike, I cooked that. Ashley was at Starbucks taking selfies. I couldn't do that to my son. Couldn't make him see his wife for what she really was. So I stayed quiet. And I kept cooking, and cleaning, and watching Lucas, and paying $800 a month to do it. I did the math once, late at night, when I couldn't sleep. I pulled out my notebook and added it all up. Rent I was paying, $800 a month, times 60 months, $48,000. Groceries I bought because I was already at Costco, roughly $300 a month, times 60 months, $18,000. Child care I provided, 40 hours a week, times 52 weeks, times 5 years. That's 10,400 hours. Daycare in West Hartford costs about $1,800 a month. That's $108,000 worth of childcare I'd given them for free. The housework I did cooking, cleaning, laundry that would cost at least $200 a week if they hired someone. Times 5 years. That's another $52,000. The money Ashley borrowed and never paid back, $3,400. The alterations and sewing I did for them for free Halloween costumes for Lucas. Hemming Mike's pants. Making dresses for Ashley that she'd post on Instagram without ever mentioning I made them. That was worth at least $2,000. Total, I'd contributed roughly $233,000 worth of money, labor, and childcare to my son's household over 5 years. And last Thanksgiving, when Ashley's family came to visit, and I'd spent 3 days cooking a feast from scratch: turkey, stuffing, cranberry sauce, 3 kinds of pie. Ashley's mother had looked at the beautiful table and said, "Ashley, you're such an amazing hostess. Everything is perfect." And Ashley had smiled and said, "Thank you, Mom. I love cooking for family." I was in the kitchen washing dishes, alone. I could hear them in the dining room, Ashley accepting compliments for food I'd cooked, decorations I'd put up, A meal I'd spent 72 hours and $300 of my own money preparing. Mike didn't correct her. He never corrected her. And I stood at that sink with my hands in hot, soapy water, tears running down my face, and I wondered how I'd ended up here. How I'd gone from being Frank's wife, Mike's mother, Lucas's grandmother from being a person with dignity and worth to being invisible. A week before Lucas's birthday, I was in my room finishing a wedding dress alteration. It was almost 10 at night. I'd been sewing since 6 that morning, and my eyes were burning. Ashley knocked on my door, didn't wait for me to answer, just walked in. "Mari, I need you to make Lucas's birthday cake." I looked up from the sewing machine. "Ashley, I have 8 dresses to finish by Friday. Mrs. Chen's daughter is getting married on Saturday, and the bridesmaids' dresses still need hemming. I don't have time to, you have to. I'm too busy planning the party. I've got decorations to order, invitations to send, a photographer coming. I can't do everything. Can't we just order a cake from now? Lucas wants Grandma Mari's chocolate cake. You promised him." She was right. I had promised him. 2 months ago, when he'd asked what kind of cake he wanted for his birthday, I'd said I'd make him whatever he wanted, and he'd thrown his arms around me and said, "Your chocolate cake, Grandma Mari. The one with the chocolate on top." How could I say no to that? "Okay," I said quietly. "I'll make the cake." "Great. Thanks, Mari. You're a lifesaver." She turned to leave, then paused. "Oh, and can you watch Lucas tomorrow? I have a lunch meeting with a potential sponsor." She didn't have a sponsor meeting. She was going to get her nails done. I'd seen the appointment confirmation on the kitchen counter, but I said yes anyway, because that's what I always did. So that's why I was in the kitchen at 2:47 in the morning on Lucas's birthday, making a cake from scratch. Because I'd promised my grandson. Because I loved him. Because even though I was exhausted and resentful and so tired of being taken for granted, I couldn't let him down. I finished the cake at 3:15. Set it in the refrigerator carefully. Admired it one more time before closing the door. It was perfect. I went upstairs, fell into bed, and slept for 3 hours. When I woke up at 8:30, I could already hear Ashley downstairs yelling, "Mari, where's the cake?" I pulled on my robe and went downstairs. My back was killing me. My hands hurt, but I was smiling, because Lucas's party was today, and I couldn't wait to see his face when he saw that cake. I walked into the kitchen. Ashley was standing at the refrigerator, holding my cake. The cake I'd spent 4.5 hours making. The cake I'd stayed up until 3 in the morning to finish. She was staring at it with a look of absolute disgust. "This is what you made?" My smile faded. "Yes, chocolate cake with it, looks homemade." "It is homemade. You asked me to make, it looks cheap, Mari. Like something from a bake sale. This is my son's birthday party. I invited 30 people. I can't serve this." My hands started shaking. "Ashley, I spent 5 hours making that cake. I used the best ingredients. I made the buttercream from scratch. I ordered a real cake from Magnolia Bakery. It's being delivered at noon. $200. That's how you celebrate a child's birthday properly." She walked past me, walked straight to the trash can, lifted the lid, and threw my cake away. I stood there, frozen, watching 3 layers of chocolate cake hit the garbage bag, watching buttercream smear across plastic, watching 5 hours of work, $40 worth of ingredients. Every ounce of love I'd put into that cake, watching it all disappear into the trash like it was nothing. Like I was nothing. Mike walked into the kitchen, coffee mug in his hand. He looked at the trash can, looked at me, looked at Ashley, said nothing. "Mike." My voice sounded strange, distant. "You gonna say something?" He looked down at his coffee. "Mom, maybe you should have asked Ashley first what kind of cake she wanted. She told me to make a cake. Lucas asked for my chocolate cake. I made exactly what I was asked to make." "Yeah," but he glanced at Ashley, who was scrolling through her phone now, already done with this conversation. "You know Ashley has a vision for these things. You should have checked with her about what it should look like." I stared at my son. This man I'd raised. This man I'd given $60,000 to. This man whose house I'd been living in for 5 years, paying rent, providing childcare, cooking meals, cleaning, sacrificing, giving everything I had, and he was standing there, telling me I should have asked permission before baking a birthday cake for my own grandson. Ashley looked up from her phone. The party's at 2, Mari. Try to look presentable. Okay. I'm taking photos for Instagram. She walked out of the kitchen. Mike followed her. And I stood there alone, staring at the trash can where my cake was slowly being buried under coffee grounds and orange peels. I knelt down, started cleaning up the chocolate that had splattered on the floor. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold the paper towels. That's when I heard Frank's voice in my head, as clear as if he was standing right behind me. Marianne, baby, what are you doing? This isn't you. This isn't the woman I married. The woman I married had a spine. She had dignity. She didn't let people treat her like this. I stopped cleaning, sat back on my heels, looked at that trash can, and something inside me, something that had been bending and bending for 5 years, finally snapped. I stood up, washed my hands, dried them carefully, walked to my room, closed the door, picked up my phone, texted my best friend, Ruth Santiago. I'm done. I need your help. Her response came back in 30 seconds. About damn time. What do you need? A place to stay. Starting next week. You've got it. My spare room is yours. When are you telling them? I looked at the calendar on my phone. Lucas's party was today. I'd already ruined his birthday by existing, apparently, but I wasn't going to make it worse by causing drama on his special day. After the party, I'll tell them tonight. I'm proud of you, Mari. This is 5 years overdue. I set down my phone, looked around my room. The room I'd been living in for 5 years. The room where I'd spent countless nights sewing until my eyes burned, so I could make enough money to pay rent in a house I'd helped buy. The room where I'd cried myself to sleep more times than I could count, wondering how I'd become so invisible. This room wasn't home. This house wasn't home. This was just a place where I'd been useful. And the moment I stopped being useful, I was garbage. Just like that cake. But I wasn't garbage. I was worth more than this. And Ashley Bradley Hartman was about to learn exactly how much I was worth. I went to Lucas's party that afternoon. I smiled. I sang happy birthday. I watched him blow out candles on a $200 cake from Magnolia Bakery that looked exactly like the cake I'd made. Except it had fondant instead of buttercream and cost 5 times as much. I gave Lucas the present I'd spent 3 weeks making, a superhero cape with his initial embroidered in gold thread on the back. He loved it. Put it on immediately and ran around the backyard pretending to fly. Ashley barely glanced at it. That's cute, Mari, very crafty. Crafty, like it was something I'd slapped together with glue and glitter, not something I'd hand-stitched for hours. I smiled. Said nothing. Took photos of Lucas with my phone, and when the last guest left at 5:30, when Mike and Ashley were in the kitchen cleaning up, I walked into the room and said the words I should have said 5 years ago. I'm moving out. I'll be gone by Friday. Before I tell you what happened after I said those words, I'm moving out, let me take you back, because you need to understand how I ended up in that kitchen, on my knees, cleaning chocolate off the floor while my daughter-in-law walked away like nothing had happened. If this story is resonating with you, if you've ever felt invisible in your own family, please subscribe. These stories matter. Your story matters. Now, let me tell you about the 5 years before that cake hit the trash. I need you to understand something about me. I'm not a doormat. I wasn't raised to be one. My mother was a strong woman who worked 2 jobs to put food on the table after my father left. She taught me to stand up for myself, to know my worth, to never let anyone make me feel small. But somehow, over 5 years, I'd forgotten all of that. It didn't happen overnight. That's the thing about this kind of situation, it's gradual. So gradual, you don't even notice it's happening until you're so deep you can't see the way out anymore. When I first moved into Mike and Ashley's house in West Hartford, I thought I was helping. I thought I was being a good mother, a good grandmother. Ashley was 24 with a newborn, and she seemed overwhelmed. Mike was working long hours, trying to prove himself at his new job. They needed help, and I wanted to help. I loved Lucas from the moment I saw him. This tiny, perfect little person, who had Frank's eyes and Mike's smile. I would have done anything for him. The first year was actually okay. I'd watch Lucas during the day while Ashley worked on her marketing portfolio. She was looking for a new job, or so she said. I'd make dinner a few nights a week, do some light cleaning. It felt like a fair exchange. But somewhere around Lucas's first birthday, things started shifting. Ashley stopped looking for work. She started calling herself a content creator, then a brand consultant, then an influencer. The titles kept changing, but the reality stayed the same. She was spending 8 hours a day on her phone, taking photos of herself, posting them online, and calling it a career. Meanwhile, I was watching Lucas full-time, 40 hours a week, sometimes more. I'd get him up in the morning, give him breakfast, play with him, put him down for naps, feed him lunch, take him to the park. Ashley would drift in and out, always with her phone, always taking photos. Content, she called it. Lucas in his high chair. Lucas playing with blocks. Lucas laughing at something I'd said. She'd post the photos with captions like "Blessed Mom Life" and "My Whole World" and #MomLife. Double quotes her followers. All 1,400 of them would comment with heart emojis, and Ashley would sit there, scrolling through the comments, smiling. She never mentioned that I was the one actually raising her child while she documented it for Instagram. The cooking started gradually too. At first, Ashley would ask if I minded making dinner just tonight, because she had a deadline. I didn't mind. I like cooking. It reminded me of cooking for Frank, of having someone to take care of. But just tonight turned into 3 nights a week, then 5, then every night. By year 2, I was cooking every single meal. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. Ashley had stopped even trying. She'd come down to the kitchen around 10 in the morning, pour herself coffee, and say, "What's for breakfast, Mari?" Like I was running a diner and she was a customer. The cleaning went the same way. "Mari, can you run the vacuum real quick? I have a video call." "Mari, can you throw in a load of laundry? I'm slammed today." "Mari, the bathroom needs cleaning, do you mind?" I always minded. But I never said so. Because every time I thought about saying no, I'd think about Lucas. About how much I loved spending time with him. About how if I pushed back, Ashley might decide I couldn't see him anymore. So I said yes, and yes, and yes. The money was worse, though that felt more personal somehow. It started small. "Mari, I'm a little short this month. Can you lend me $200? I'll pay you back on the 1st. The 1st came and went. No money. When I finally worked up the courage to ask about it, Ashley looked confused. "Oh, I thought Mike paid you back." "I'll get it to you next week, I promise." Next week never came. Then it was 300 for car repairs. 500 for some influencer conference in Boston that was going to change everything for her brand. 400 for new camera equipment. 200 here, 300 there. I kept track in a small notebook I hid in my nightstand drawer. Not because I was planning to demand the money back, but because I needed to see it written down. Needed proof that I wasn't imagining this, that this was really happening. By the time Lucas turned 5, Ashley owed me $3,400. I'd never see a penny of it. I knew that, but I couldn't stop keeping track. The worst part was watching Ashley take credit for everything I did. Not just with her Instagram followers, I could have lived with that. But with her own family. That Thanksgiving, a year ago now, was when I finally started to wake up. Ashley's parents were coming from Rhode Island. Her sister and brother-in-law were driving up from New York. Mike's aunt and uncle from Boston. 12 people total for Thanksgiving dinner. Ashley announced the plan 2 weeks before. "I'm hosting Thanksgiving this year. It's going to be amazing. I'm going to make everything from scratch, turkey stuffing, the works. Very traditional, very Instagram-worthy." I didn't say anything. Just nodded. Waited to see what would actually happen. 3 days before Thanksgiving, Ashley came to my room around midnight. I was still up, hemming a bridesmaid dress that needed to be done by Friday. She knocked once and walked in without waiting for an answer. "Mari, I need your help with Thanksgiving." I looked up from the sewing machine. "What kind of help?" "All of it. I'm drowning in party planning. I've got to get the house decorated, create a tablescape, plan the whole aesthetic for photos. I don't have time to actually cook. Ashley, I have 3 dresses to finish. Please, Mari, I'll give you my credit card. You can get whatever ingredients you need. I'll pay for everything." She didn't pay for everything. I checked. I used my own money for the groceries because her credit card got declined at Whole Foods, and I was too embarrassed to call her from the store. $340 I spent on a turkey, fresh vegetables, real butter, the good cranberries, 3 different kinds of pie ingredients. I cooked for 3 days straight, made the turkey from scratch, brined it overnight, roasted it for 6 hours, made stuffing with homemade bread I'd baked the day before, made mashed potatoes with real cream, made green bean casserole, sweet potato casserole, cranberry sauce from actual cranberries, made 3 pies: apple, pumpkin, and pecan. Ashley spent those 3 days decorating. She bought $100 worth of fall decorations from HomeGoods, arranged them on the dining table, set out fancy place cards with everyone's names written in gold calligraphy, took about 500 photos of the table from different angles. Thanksgiving Day came. The guests arrived at 2, so Ashley greeted them at the door, in a designer dress I'd hemmed for her 2 weeks earlier. She hugged everyone, played the perfect hostess, gave them a tour of her beautiful home. At 3, we sat down to eat. The table looked like something from a magazine. The food smelled incredible. Everyone took their seats, and Ashley's father said grace. When he finished, Ashley's mother looked around the table and said, "Ashley, sweetheart, this is absolutely beautiful. You've outdone yourself. Everything looks perfect." Ashley smiled. That bright, Instagram-ready smile. "Thank you, Mom. I love cooking for the people I love. It's such a joy to bring everyone together." I was sitting at the end of the table, the seat closest to the kitchen, the seat where I could jump up quickly if anyone needed anything. Ashley's sister cut into her turkey. "Oh my God, this is incredible. Ashley, when did you learn to cook like this?" "Practice," Ashley said, laughing. "Lots and lots of practice." Mike was sitting next to her. He looked at me once, quickly, then looked away. Said nothing. For 2 hours, I listened to Ashley accept compliments for food I'd cooked, listened to her talk about her cooking philosophy and her family recipes and how much she loved creating these moments. Not once did she mention my name. After dinner, everyone moved to the living room. Ashley wanted photos. Family photos for the Christmas card, she said. She set up her phone on a tripod, positioned everyone just right. "Mari, can you take the photos for us?" she asked. Not mean, not cruel. Just ... matter of fact. Like of course I'd be the one behind the camera. Like of course I wouldn't be in the family photo. I took the photos, 73 of them. Ashley and Mike and Lucas, smiling, Ashley's parents and sister, Mike's aunt and uncle, everyone looking happy and grateful and full. Then I went back to the kitchen and started washing dishes. I stood at that sink with my hands in hot water, scrubbing roasting pans and casserole dishes and pie plates. I could hear everyone in the living room, laughing, talking. Ashley's voice rising above the others, still basking in praise for the meal I'd cooked. That's when I started crying. Not dramatic sobs or anything. Just quiet tears running down my face, dropping into the dishwater. I'd spent 3 days and $300 and every ounce of energy I had to make that meal, and I'd been erased, completely. Like I didn't exist. Mike came into the kitchen around 7, carrying empty coffee cups. He set them on the counter next to me. "Mom," he said quietly, "thank you, for everything. I know you did all this." I looked at him. "Then why didn't you say that, in front of everyone?" He glanced back at the living room. Ashley worked really hard on the decorations. I didn't want to take that away from her. So you took it away from me instead. "Mom, that's not go back to your guests, Mike." He hesitated, then left. I finished the dishes alone, put away the food, wiped down the counters, swept the floor. By the time I was done, it was 9:30. Everyone had left except Ashley's parents, who were staying in Lucas's room. Lucas was sleeping in Mike and Ashley's room. I went upstairs to my room, closed the door, sat on the edge of my bed, and I called my best friend, Ruth Santiago. Ruth and I had been friends for 20 years. We'd met at a sewing class at the community center, back when Frank was still alive. She was a seamstress too, did alterations out of her home in West Hartford. We'd stayed close over the years, had coffee together every week, talked on the phone nearly every day, until I moved in with Mike and Ashley. Then I'd stopped calling as much, stopped going to coffee, stopped doing anything that wasn't related to this house, this family, these people who were slowly erasing me. But that night, I called Ruth, because I needed to hear someone tell me I wasn't crazy. She answered on the second ring. "Mari, what's wrong? Am I a bad person?" Silence. Then, what happened? I told her everything. The cooking, the cleaning, the money, the credit taking, all of it. 5 years of it pouring out of me in a rush. When I finished, Ruth was quiet for a long moment. "Mari," she said finally, "you need to leave that house." "I can't. Lucas needs me. Lucas will be fine. But you won't be." "Honey, do you hear yourself? You're paying $800 a month to be their maid, their nanny, their personal chef, and they treat you like you should be grateful for the privilege. Mike's my son, and he's letting his wife treat you like garbage. That makes him complicit. I'm sorry, Mari, but you need to hear this. Your son is not protecting you. He's choosing Ashley over you every single time, and you're letting him." I felt something crack in my chest. "What am I supposed to do? You move out. You come stay with me. I have a spare bedroom. You can pay me $400 a month, half what you're paying them, and you can rebuild your life, your sewing business, your dignity, your self-respect. But Lucas will still be your grandson. Mike can bring him to visit. But Mari, you can't keep sacrificing yourself for people who don't appreciate you. You just can't." I sat there on my bed, phone pressed to my ear, and I knew she was right. I'd known it for a while, if I was honest with myself. But hearing someone else say it out loud made it real. "I'll think about it," I said. "Don't think too long," Ruth said. "Because this is killing you. I can hear it in your voice. You're disappearing, Mari, and I'm watching it happen." We hung up. I sat there in the dark for a long time. 2 weeks later, Lucas's birthday was coming up. He'd asked me, so sweetly, if I would make him a chocolate cake. "Your chocolate cake, Grandma Mari. The one with the chocolate on top." I'd promised him I would, and I decided that cake would be my test. My final test. If Ashley could appreciate it, truly appreciate the work, the love, the effort, maybe there was hope. Maybe I could stay. Maybe things could get better. But if she didn't single quotes well, then I'd have my answer. I made that cake at 2 in the morning because I wanted it to be perfect. Because I wanted Lucas to know his grandma loved him. Because even though I was exhausted and resentful and so done with this family, I couldn't let my grandson down on his birthday. I put everything I had into that cake. Every bit of skill I'd learned over 30 years of baking. Every ounce of love I felt for that little boy. And 12 hours later, I watched Ashley throw it in the trash. She didn't just reject the cake, she rejected me. Everything I was, everything I'd given. 5 years of sacrifice, condensed into 3 layers of chocolate, thrown away like it was nothing. Like I was nothing. But I wasn't nothing. And when Mike stood there and told me I should have asked permission, when he looked me in the eye and chose her over me one more time, finally understood what Ruth had been trying to tell me. I was done. Not angry, not hurt, just done. I went to Lucas's party. I smiled for him. I sang happy birthday for him. I gave him the cape I'd made for him, and I watched him light up with joy. And when the last guest left, I walked into that kitchen and I said the words that should have come out of my mouth 5 years earlier. "I'm moving out. I'll be gone by Friday." The look on Ashley's face was worth every single tear I'd cried into that dishwater. The words hung in the air for what felt like a full minute. I'm moving out. I'll be gone by Friday. Ashley was standing at the kitchen island, her phone in her hand, probably about to post some perfectly filtered photo from Lucas's party. She looked up slowly, like she wasn't sure she'd heard me right. What? I'm moving out, I repeated, calmer than I felt. I'll have my things packed by Friday. I'm staying with Ruth. Mike had been loading paper plates into the trash. He stopped mid-motion, a handful of plates frozen halfway to the garbage can. Mom, what are you talking about? I'm talking about leaving. This arrangement isn't working anymore. It hasn't been working for a long time. I should have done this years ago. Ashley set down her phone. Her face shifted into what I'd come to recognize as her concerned expression. The one she used when she wanted something. Mari, if this is about the cake, I already said I was sorry. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. I was just stressed about the party. It's not about the cake. I pulled out one of the kitchen chairs and sat down. My legs were shaking, but my voice stayed steady. It's about 5 years. 5 years of being treated like hired help in a house I helped pay for. Hired help. Mom, that's not. Mike started. Let me finish. I looked at him. My son. The boy I'd raised to be kind, to be fair, to stand up for people who couldn't stand up for themselves. Somewhere along the way, he'd forgotten all of that. I've been keeping track. Did you know that? I have a notebook upstairs. 5 years worth of numbers. Do you want to hear them? Neither of them said anything. I've paid you $800 a month in rent for 60 months. That's $48,000. I've spent roughly $300 a month on groceries because I was already at the store, or already at Costco. That's another $18,000. I've provided full-time childcare for Lucas 40 hours a week, sometimes more for 5 years. Daycare in West Hartford runs about $1,800 a month. That's $108,000 in free childcare. I could see Mike doing the math in his head. His face was getting paler. I've cooked dinner almost every night for 5 years. I've cleaned this house, done laundry. The going rate for a cleaning service around here is $200 a week. That's another $52,000. And then there's the money Ashley borrowed from me and never paid back. $3,400. Last time I counted. Ashley made a sound. Borrowed. That was family helping family. No. My voice was still calm, but there was steel in it now. Steel I hadn't known I still had. Family is mutual. Family is reciprocal. This wasn't help. This was exploitation. And I'm done. Mike set the paper plates down on the counter. Mom, you're being ridiculous. We didn't exploit you. We gave you a place to live. I paid to live here. I worked to live here. And if you add up all those numbers I just gave you, Mike, do you know what they come to? Over $230,000. That's what I've contributed to this household in 5 years. In money, in labor, in sacrifice. While being treated like I should be grateful you tolerate my presence. The silence that followed was so thick I could feel it pressing against my chest. Ashley's concerned expression was gone now. Her face was hard, cold. The mask had slipped. You want to talk about money? Fine. Let's talk about it. You live in this beautiful house. You eat our food. You use our internet, our electricity, our water. You benefit from everything Mike provides, Ashley. I stood up. I'm 58 years old. I've been a seamstress for 32 years. I make almost $3,000 a month from my business, plus Frank's Social Security survivor benefits. I'm not some charity case. I don't need Mike to provide for me. I've been providing for myself and for both of you for 5 years. That's not true. When's the last time you cooked a meal, cleaned a bathroom, did a load of laundry that wasn't your own Instagram outfits? I wasn't yelling, wasn't even raising my voice. But every word landed like a stone. You don't work, Ashley. You play on your phone and call it a career. You have 1,400 followers. That's not a business. That's a hobby. And I've been subsidizing it while you treat me like I'm worthless. Her face went red. How dare you, Mom? That's not fair, Mike said. Ashley works hard on her brand. Her brand. I turned to him. Mike, be honest. How much money has Ashley made from this brand in the last year? Actual money. Not free products. Not exposure. Real income. He didn't answer. I'll tell you how much. Nothing. She makes nothing. You pay every single bill in this house. And I do every single piece of work that keeps it running. So tell me again how I'm the one who should be grateful. Ashley's voice went sharp, vicious. You want honesty? Fine. You're a burden, Marion. An old woman living in our house because you have nowhere else to go. We took you in when Frank died because we felt sorry for you. I bought this house. The words came out so quietly, I almost didn't recognize my own voice. Ashley's mouth was still open, ready to say something else cruel. But the words died on her lips. What? The down payment? I said. $60,000. I gave it to Mike in 2019 when you couldn't qualify for the mortgage on your own. Did he not tell you that? I watched the blood drain from Mike's face. Ashley turned to him slowly. What is she talking about? Mom, we agreed not to bring that up. We agreed I wouldn't mention it. But circumstances have changed. I looked at Ashley. Yes. I gave Mike $60,000 from Frank's life insurance, so you too could buy this house. This house you've been acting like you own. This house where you've been treating me like a guest who's overstayed her welcome. Ashley's voice went up an octave. You took money from your mother. Mike, tell me she's lying. He's not lying, I said. Mike needed it for the down payment. You wanted this house. You said you had to have it, that it was your dream house. But you couldn't afford it. So Mike asked me for help. And because I love my son, I gave him the money. I didn't ask for it back. I didn't charge interest. I didn't hold it over his head. I just gave it to him because that's what mothers do. Mike's face was ashen. Ashley, I was going to tell you when. When were you going to tell me that we basically stole $60,000 from your mother? We didn't steal it, Mike said, defensive now. She offered because you asked. Ashley's voice was rising. Oh my God, you took money from your mother and then let me treat her like garbage for 5 years. What is wrong with you? It was almost funny, watching Ashley have this realization. Not because she suddenly cared about me, but because it made Mike look bad. Made her look bad by association. I need a drink, Ashley said, grabbing her phone and walking out of the kitchen. Mike stood there, staring at me. Mom, I'm sorry. I should have told her. I should have done a lot of things differently. Yes, I said simply. You should have. Don't leave, please. We can fix this. We can sit down and figure out a better arrangement, Mike. I stepped closer to him. I'm not angry with you. I'm disappointed. But I'm not angry. Because I let this happen. I said yes when I should have said no. I accepted being treated poorly because I was afraid of losing you and Lucas. But you know what I realized today? Standing in that kitchen, watching Ashley throw away that cake. He didn't say anything. I already lost you. I lost you years ago when you decided it was easier to keep Ashley happy than to stand up for your own mother. And I can't get you back by staying here and accepting less than I deserve. All that does is teach Lucas that this is how you treat people who love you. His eyes got shiny. Mom, I love you. I always will. You're my son. But I love myself more than I love making your life convenient. And I'm done sacrificing my dignity so you don't have to have uncomfortable conversations with your wife. I walked past him, headed for the stairs. Wait, he said, where are you going? To pack my things. Ruth's expecting me Friday morning. You're really doing this? I turned back. Yes, I really am. What about Lucas? He needs you. Lucas will be fine. You can bring him to visit me at Ruth's house. We'll have lunch, go to the park, have grandmother-grandson time. But I'm not coming back here. This isn't my home anymore. It never really was. I went upstairs to my room, closed the door, sat down on the bed. My hands were shaking now. The adrenaline that had carried me through that conversation was wearing off, and I was starting to feel it. The fear, the uncertainty, the weight of what I'd just done. But underneath all of that, there was something else, something I hadn't felt in 5 years. Relief. I pulled out my phone and texted Ruth. I told them, I'm coming Friday. Her response came back immediately. I'm so proud of you. Do you need help packing? Maybe, I'll let you know. Mari, you did the right thing. I set the phone down and looked around the room. 5 years of my life in this space. My sewing machine in the corner. My fabric bins stacked against the wall. My clothes hanging in the small closet. Pictures of Lucas on the dresser. A photo of Frank next to my bed. This room had never felt like home. It had always felt temporary. Like I was waiting for something to change. Waiting for Ashley to appreciate me. Waiting for Mike to stand up for me. Waiting for things to get better. But things don't get better when you keep accepting less than you deserve. I stood up and pulled a suitcase out from under the bed. Started folding clothes. One item at a time. Steady.com. There was a soft knock on the door. Come in, I said, expecting Mike. But it was Ashley. She stood in the doorway, arms crossed. Her face was composed now. The anger from earlier was gone, replaced with something calculating. So you're really leaving? Yes. And you want the money I owe you? The $3,400. I'd like it, but I'm not expecting it. She studied me for a moment. What if I said we'd start paying you? For childcare. For cooking. Make it official. Like a job. I stopped folding. Looked at her. No. Mari, we're trying to make this right, Ashley. I don't want to be your employee. I want it to be your family. There's a difference. You can't pay me enough to make up for 5 years of disrespect, and I won't let you turn this into a transaction where you think money fixes everything. Then what do you want? I want you to let me leave with dignity. I want you to bring Lucas to visit me twice a month, and I want you to learn from this, because one day, you're going to be the mother-in-law. And if Lucas's wife treats you the way you treated me, you're going to remember this conversation. Her jaw tightened. You're being dramatic. I'm being honest. Something I should have been 5 years ago. I turned back to my packing. You can go now. She stood there for another moment, then left without closing the door. I finished packing one suitcase that night, then another. My clothes, my personal items, the photo of Frank. My sewing supplies would take longer. I'd need Ruth's help loading the machine and the fabric bins. Around midnight, I heard footsteps in the hallway. Mike appeared in my doorway. Mom, it's late. Mike, you should be sleeping. I can't sleep, not with you packing, not with everything I said to you today. He leaned against the doorframe. I was a coward. I've been a coward for 5 years. You deserved better than that. Yes, I did. Can you forgive me? I set down the shirt I was folding. Eventually, maybe, but forgiveness doesn't mean going back, and it doesn't mean pretending this didn't happen. You made a choice, Mike, every single day for 5 years. You chose Ashley's comfort over my dignity. And I can forgive that, but I can't forget it. So we're just done. That's it. No, we're not done. You're still my son. Lucas is still my grandson. But we're done with this arrangement. Done with me sacrificing myself for your convenience. Done with me accepting less than I'm worth because I'm afraid of losing you. He wiped his eyes. What if you already lost me? Then I'll grieve that, I said quietly. But I'll grieve it with my dignity intact. He left without saying anything else. I finished packing at 2 in the morning. 3 suitcases. 2 bins. Everything I'd accumulated in 5 years fit into my car, with room to spare. That should have told me something right there. That's how little space I'd been taking up in this house. How small I'd made myself. But I wasn't small. And I wasn't going to be small anymore. I lay down on the bed still made, still neat-tanned, stared at the ceiling, wondering what Ruth's spare room looked like. Wondering if I was making a mistake. Wondering if I should have tried harder to make this work. But then I thought about that cake in the trash. About 5 years of being invisible. About the way Ashley's mother had praised her for my cooking. About the way Mike had looked away when I needed him to speak up. And I knew I wasn't making a mistake. I was making the first right decision I'd made in 5 years. Friday morning came. Ruth pulled up in her minivan at 9 a.m. sharp. Mike was at work. Ashley was still asleep upstairs. Lucas was at a friend's house for a playdate. Ruth and I loaded my things into her van. The suitcases, the bins, the sewing machine, my fabric collection, everything that was mine. The house was quiet, empty. It felt like a place I'd visited once, a long time ago, not like somewhere I'd lived for 5 years. I walked through one last time, said goodbye to nothing, because there was nothing here that was mine except the things I was taking with me. I left my key on the kitchen counter, right where Ashley had thrown away my cake. And then Ruth and I drove away. I didn't cry, didn't look back, just watched Mike and Ashley's house get smaller in the side mirror until it disappeared completely. How do you feel? Ruth asked. I thought about it, really thought about it. Free, I said, and I meant it. 6 months went by faster than I expected. Ruth's spare bedroom was small, smaller than the room I'd had at Mike and Ashley's house. The closet was tiny. The window looked out onto her neighbor's fence instead of a backyard. There was barely enough space for my sewing machine and fabric bins. It was perfect. I paid Ruth $400 a month, half what I'd been paying Mike and Ashley. She didn't want to take it at first, said I was family, and family didn't charge rent. But I insisted. I needed to pay my own way. Needed to know I was contributing, not taking advantage. The difference was that Ruth appreciated it. She'd thank me every month when I handed her the check. She'd make dinner for both of us a few nights a week, and I'd make dinner the other nights, and we'd sit at her small kitchen table and talk about our days like actual friends, like equals. My sewing business picked up in ways I hadn't expected. Word must have spread that I'd left Mike's house, because suddenly I was getting calls from clients I hadn't heard from in years. Women from church, old customers who'd lost my number, new customers who'd heard about my work from friends. I heard you're taking clients again, one woman said when she called about alterations for her daughter's wedding. I'm so glad. We missed you. By the 3rd month, I was making $3,800 a month. By the 6th month, it was over $4,000. More than I'd made in years. Apparently, when you're not spending 40 hours a week providing free childcare and housework, you have a lot more time to actually work. I saw Lucas twice a month. Mike would bring him to Ruth's house on Saturday mornings. We'd have lunch. I'd make his favorite grilled cheese and tomato soup, and then we'd go to the park, or I'd teach him simple sewing stitches, or we'd just sit and read books together. Lucas never asked why I didn't live with him anymore. Kids are adaptable like that. He just accepted that Grandma Mari lived with Miss Ruth now, and that was okay. Mike would pick him up after a few hours. He'd stand in Ruth's doorway, looking uncomfortable, always trying to find something to say. Thanks for watching him, Mom. I'm not watching him. I'm spending time with my grandson. There's a difference. He'd nod. Leave. Come back 2 weeks later and we'd do it all again. Ashley never came with him. Not once in 6 months. I didn't ask about her. Didn't ask how they were managing without me. It wasn't my business anymore. But Ruth had friends who lived in their neighborhood, and word traveled. Apparently, things weren't going well. The house was a mess, according to Mrs. Patterson, who lived 3 doors down from Mike and Ashley. She'd mentioned it to her sister, who mentioned it to Ruth at church. Toys all over the yard. Trash cans that didn't get brought in for days. The grass was getting long. Paint was peeling on the front porch. I don't like to gossip, Mrs. Patterson had said, which is what people always say right before they gossip. But that poor man looks exhausted. I see him leaving for work at 7 and coming home at 8 or 9 at night, and that wife of his is always on her phone, even when the little boy is right there wanting attention. Ruth told me all this one evening over dinner. I listened without comment. Aren't you curious? Ruth asked. How they're doing without you? No, I said. And I meant it. They made their choice. Now they get to live with it. Then Mother's Day came around. I hadn't expected to hear from Mike. Mother's Day had always been awkward when I lived with them. Ashley would make a big production of celebrating her own mother, flying her in from Rhode Island, taking her to brunch, posting photos on Instagram with captions about the best mom ever. I'd get a card from Lucas with a drawing he'd made at school, and maybe a text from Mike that said Happy Mother's Day, Mom. This year, I'd made plans with Ruth. We were going to church in the morning. then lunch at that Italian place downtown we both loved, then a movie. A whole day of doing exactly what we wanted. But on Saturday, the day before Mother's Day, Mike called. I almost didn't answer. But it might be about Lucas, so I picked up. Hi Mike. Hey Mom. He sounded tired. More tired than usual. I was wondering if you could come over tomorrow. For Mother's Day. Lucas really wants to see you. We thought we could do dinner. As a family? I looked at Ruth, who was sitting across from me at the kitchen table, drinking tea and pretending not to listen. She raised her eyebrows. I have plans, I said. Oh, okay. I understand. He paused. Could you maybe stop by after? Just for an hour. Lucas made you something at school. He's been so excited to give it to you. That got me. Lucas, not Mike, not Ashley. Lucas, what time? 6. We'll order food. Nothing fancy. Just family dinner. I'll think about it. Mom, please. I know things have been weird, but it's Mother's Day, and you're Lucas's grandmother. He misses you. He sees me every other week. It's not the same. He asks about you all the time. Asks when you're coming home. That hurt more than I wanted to admit. Mike, I am home. Ruth's house is my home now. I know. I'm sorry. That came out wrong. I just meant, he sighed. Will you come, please? I looked at Ruth again. She made a your choice gesture with her hands. I'll come, I said. But just for an hour. And Mike, this doesn't change anything, I know. Thank you, Mom. 6 o'clock. I'll text you if anything changes. We hung up. Ruth was smiling at me. What? I said. You're a good grandmother. That's all. I'm an idiot is what I am. I should have said no, maybe, but you didn't. Because Lucas matters to you. And that's okay, Mari. You can have boundaries and still love your grandson. Sunday came. I went to church with Ruth, had lunch, came home and changed into a nicer shirt. At 5:45, I got in my car and drove to West Hartford. It felt strange, pulling into that driveway. The house looked the same, but different. The lawn was too long. There were weeds in the flower beds I used to maintain. One of the shutters was crooked. Mike answered the door. He looked older, thinner. There were dark circles under his eyes. Mom, thanks for coming. Lucas came running from the living room. Grandma Mari. He threw his arms around my waist, and I felt my chest get tight. Hey sweetheart, I missed you. I missed you too. I made you something. He grabbed my hand and pulled me inside. The house was messier than I'd ever seen it. Toys everywhere. Dishes stacked in the sink. Mail piled on the counter. The floors needed vacuuming. The whole place had a tired, neglected feeling. Lucas pulled me to the dining table where a piece of construction paper sat, covered in crayon drawings. I made you a card. See? That's you and me at the park. And that's the superhero cape you made me. And that's you teaching me too, so. It's beautiful, honey. Thank you. Ashley came out of the kitchen. She looked different too. No makeup. Hair in a messy ponytail. Wearing sweatpants and an old t-shirt. She looked like she hadn't slept well in weeks. Mari, hi, thanks for coming. Ashley, dinner's almost ready. We ordered from that Thai place you like. I got your usual pad Thai, no peanuts. She remembered my usual. That was something, I supposed. We sat down to eat. The food came in takeout containers. They hadn't even bothered to plate it. We ate straight from the containers with mismatched silverware. Lucas chattered through the meal, telling me about school, about his friends, about the new game he learned at recess. Mike was quiet, pushing his food around. Ashley kept glancing at me like she wanted to say something but didn't know how. After dinner, Lucas went to the living room to watch a movie. Mike started clearing the table, and Ashley stood up. Mari, can we talk? The three of us. I didn't want to. Wanted to hug Lucas goodbye and drive back to Ruth's house and forget I'd ever come here. But I'd agreed to an hour, and it had only been 40 minutes. Okay. We sat down in the living room. Lucas was on the floor, absorbed in his movie, wearing headphones. Ashley spoke first. I want to apologize for how I treated you. I didn't realize how much you did until you were gone. I took you for granted, and that wasn't fair. I waited. There was always a but coming. And I want to ask if you'd consider coming back. We need you, Mari. Lucas needs you. We could make it official this time, pay you for childcare, for cooking, whatever you think is fair. There it was. No, I said. Ashley blinked. No, I don't want to be your employee, Ashley. I wanted to be your family. There's a difference. And you can't pay me enough to make up for 5 years of being treated like I didn't matter. Mike leaned forward. Mom, we're not trying to hire you. We're trying to fix things. We messed up. I messed up. I know that. I've been going to therapy. We both have. We're trying to be better. That surprised me. You're in therapy. Yeah. For about 2 months now. The therapist helped me see how badly I failed you. How I let Ashley treat you poorly because it was easier than standing up to her. How I prioritized keeping the peace over protecting my own mother. His voice cracked a little on that last part. I'm proud of you for going to therapy, I said honestly. That takes courage. But Mike, that doesn't mean I'm coming back. Then what do we do? Ashley's voice was quiet, almost desperate. We can't afford daycare. It's $1,800 a month. And I can't watch Lucas full-time and work on my brand, Ashley. I looked at her directly. You're going to have to choose. Either you get a real job that pays real money, or you accept that your brand is a hobby and you're a stay-at-home mom. You can't have it both ways. Not without someone subsidizing it. And I'm not doing that anymore. Her face flushed. I do work. No, you play on your phone. That's not work. Work is something someone pays you for. How much money have you made from Instagram this year? Real money, not free products. She didn't answer. That's what I thought. Mike ran his hand through his hair. Mom, we're drowning. The house is falling apart. I'm working 60-hour weeks trying to keep up with bills. Ashley's overwhelmed with Lucas. We need help. Then hire help. Hire a cleaning service. Hire a babysitter. Get a meal delivery service. There are options, Mike. They just all cost money. Money you were saving by using me. That's not fair. It's completely fair. My voice was still calm, but firm. For 5 years, I provided $200,000 worth of labor and support to this household. And you treated me like I was lucky to be here. Now you're discovering what things actually cost when you have to pay for them. That's not my problem to solve. Ashley stood up abruptly. So you're just done with us, with your own family. I'm not done with Lucas. I'll always be his grandmother. But yes, I'm done with this arrangement. I'm done sacrificing myself for people who don't appreciate me. I stood up too. I'm going to say goodbye to Lucas and go home. Ruth's probably wondering where I am. Ruth's house isn't your home, Ashley said. This is your home. This is your family. No, I said quietly. This is your house, your family. I was just the help. And I don't work here anymore. I went to the living room. Knelt down next to Lucas. Hey, sweetheart, I have to go. Already, but you just got here. I know, but I'll see you next Saturday, okay? We'll go to the park and maybe get ice cream. Promise, promise. I hugged him tight. I love you, Lucas. I love you too, Grandma Mari. Mike walked me to the door, stood there looking miserable. Mom, I don't know how to fix this. You don't fix it, Mike, you live with it. You learn from it. And you make sure you never treat anyone else the way you and Ashley treated me. I'm sorry. I know I've said it before, but I mean it. I'm really sorry. I know you are. And eventually, I'll forgive you. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. And it doesn't mean going back. I got in my car, drove away, and this time, watching that house disappear in my rearview mirror felt easier, lighter. I got back to Ruth's place at 7:30. She was on the couch watching a British baking show, a cup of tea in her hand. How'd it go? They asked me to come back, offered to pay me this time, and I said no. Ruth smiled. Good, sit down. I saved you some of that lemon cake from lunch. And this episode is just getting good. I sat down next to my best friend, ate lemon cake, watched people try to make perfect pastries on TV, and I felt completely, utterly at peace. Because I finally understood something I should have learned years ago. You can love people and still refuse to let them hurt you. You can be family and still have boundaries. You can walk away from toxicity without being the villain. I'd spent 5 years trying to earn appreciation that was never going to come. 5 years shrinking myself to fit into a space that was never meant to be mine. But I wasn't small anymore, and I wasn't going back. 1 year and 2 months after I threw my key on that kitchen counter and drove away, I sat at Ruth's dining table on a cold December morning, writing Christmas cards. It had become a ritual. Every year since Frank died, I'd spend the first Saturday in December addressing cards, writing little notes, remembering people who mattered. This year, the stack was smaller, simpler, just the people who'd actually been there for me. Ruth was at the grocery store. The house was quiet except for the hum of the heater and the soft scratch of my pen on cardstock. I picked up the card addressed to Mike and Ashley, stared at it for a long moment. Finally I wrote, "Merry Christmas. Lucas's present is enclosed a hand-knit scarf in his favorite blue. See you January 10th for his birthday lunch. Love, Mom." Short, simple, polite, nothing more, nothing less. I added a separate note on a piece of paper and tucked it inside the card. "I forgive you both. Not because you've earned it, but because I deserve peace." Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, and it doesn't mean going back, but it means I'm not carrying anger anymore. You taught me something valuable this year, that I'm worth more than being useful. Thank you for that lesson, even if you didn't mean to teach it. I sealed the envelope, set it on top of the stack, looked at it sitting there. A year ago, I never would have believed I'd feel this calm about any of this. About Mike. About Ashley. About everything that had happened. But here I was. Calm, at peace, free. My phone buzzed. Text from Mike. "Mom, can I bring Lucas by this afternoon? I know it's not our regular Saturday, but he made you something at school and he's dying to give it to you." I smiled, typed back, "Of course, 2 o'clock, perfect, thank you." Things with Mike had gotten better, slowly, carefully. Like rebuilding something that had shattered. You couldn't just glue it back together and pretend it was the same. But you could make something new out of the pieces. He'd kept going to therapy. Started standing up to Ashley more. Started making decisions for Lucas that put Lucas first, instead of Ashley's Instagram aesthetic first. Started showing up for our visits with his son and actually talking to me like I was his mother, not someone he was obligated to tolerate. We weren't where we used to be. Probably never would be. But we were somewhere. And somewhere was better than nowhere. Ashley had sent me $200 3 months after I left. Then another $300 2 months later. Then $300 more just last month. $800 total toward the $3,400 she owed me. Still $2,600 to go. I didn't think I'd ever see all of it. But the fact that she was trying meant something. Not enough to make me forget. But something. I pulled out my journal, the one Ruth had bought me last Christmas. Leather-bound and sturdy, and opened to a blank page. Started writing. December 7th, 2025. 1 year ago, I was packing my things to leave Mike and Ashley's house. 1 year ago, I was terrified I was making a mistake. Terrified I was giving up on my family. Terrified I'd regret it. I don't regret it. Not even a little. This year has taught me things I should have learned decades ago. You can't make someone value you. You can only value yourself enough to walk away when they don't. Family isn't just blood. Family is people who treat you with love and respect. Ruth is more family to me than Mike and Ashley were during those 5 years. Boundaries aren't walls. They're doors. You get to decide who walks through. Your worth isn't measured by how useful you are to other people. Your worth is inherent. You matter. Period. I make $4,200 a month now from my sewing business. I pay Ruth $400 in rent. I have money in savings for the first time in years. I sleep through the night. I wake up happy. I see Lucas every other week. We have lunch. We go to the park. We bake together. Yesterday, he told me he wants to learn to sew like Grandma Mari. My heart nearly burst. Mike is trying. Really trying. I can see it. He apologizes now. He thanks me. He asks about my life, instead of just talking about his. It's not perfect, but it's progress. Ashley sent me money again. $800 total now. She still has a long way to go, but she's moving in the right direction. And me, I'm happy. Really, genuinely happy. Not the fake happy I tried to convince myself I was for 5 years. Real happy. The kind that comes from living authentically, setting boundaries, and refusing to accept less than you deserve. That cake, Ashley threw in the trash. It represented 5 years of my life. 5 years of sacrifice and invisibility and trying so hard to be enough for people who would never appreciate me. But throwing it away was the best thing she ever did for me. Because it showed me exactly how little I mattered to her. And it gave me permission to matter to myself. I closed the journal, set down my pen, looked around Ruth's small living room. This wasn't the life I'd imagined when Frank died 8 years ago. I'd thought I'd live alone in a quiet apartment, see Mike and my future grandkids on holidays, grow old peacefully. Instead, I'd spent 5 years being used, and now I was living in my best friend's spare bedroom, rebuilding my life at 58. But you know what? This life was better than the one I'd imagined, because this life was mine, my choices, my boundaries, my peace. The front door opened. Ruth came in carrying grocery bags, her cheeks pink from the cold. "I got everything for the Christmas cookies," she announced, "and I may have bought way too much chocolate. But I regret nothing," I laughed. "Let me help you." We unpacked groceries together, put away flour and sugar and butter and chocolate chips. Ruth had invited half the neighborhood over for a Christmas cookie decorating party next weekend, and we were making enough cookies to feed an army. "Oh," Mike texted. I said, "He's bringing Lucas by at 2. Lucas made me something." Ruth smiled. "That boy adores you. The feeling's mutual. You're good with him. Patient, present, everything. A grandmother should be. I have the time to be present now. That's the difference. When I lived with them, I was so exhausted from cooking and cleaning and childcare that I barely had energy left to actually enjoy Lucas. Now when I see him, it's just us. Quality time, not me trying to squeeze in moments between chores. That's what boundaries give you," Ruth said. "Time, energy. The ability to show up as your best self instead of your most exhausted self." At 2 o'clock, Mike's car pulled up. Lucas jumped out before Mike even turned off the engine, running up the walkway with a rolled-up piece of paper in his hands. "Grandma Mari, look what I made." I opened the door. He crashed into me with a hug, then unrolled the paper. It was a drawing. Crayon on construction paper. 2 stick figures holding hands. One tall, one small. "It's you and me," Lucas said proudly. "We're at the park. See, that's the swings. And that's the ducks we fed last time." And I wrote "I love Grandma Mari" at the top. Mrs. Peterson helped me spell it. "It's perfect," I said, my throat tight. "I'm going to hang it on the refrigerator. Can we bake today? You said you'd teach me to make cupcakes." "We absolutely can. Ruth just bought supplies for Christmas cookies. But I think we have everything we need for cupcakes too." Mike came up the walkway more slowly. "Hey Mom. Thanks for letting us stop by." "Of course. Come in, it's freezing." He followed us inside. Ruth was in the kitchen, putting away the last of the groceries. "Ruth, you remember my son Mike?" "Of course. Good to see you, Mike. Can I get you some coffee?" "That'd be great. Actually, thanks." Lucas was already pulling out the mixing bowls from the cabinet I'd shown him last time. "Can we make chocolate cupcakes, Grandma Mari? With sprinkles?" Chocolate cupcakes with sprinkles coming right up. For the next hour, Lucas and I made cupcakes. I measured ingredients. He poured and stirred. I showed him how to fill the cupcake liners without spilling. He decorated them with more sprinkles than any cupcake had a right to have. Mike sat at the kitchen table with Ruth, drinking coffee, watching us. At some point, Ruth excused herself to wrap Christmas presents in her room, giving Mike and me space. "He loves this," Mike said quietly. "Spending time with you. Learning from you. He talks about you all the time. I love it too. He's a good kid. You're a good grandmother. Better than I deserve after everything. I looked at him. You're doing better, Mike. I can see it. The therapy is helping. It is. It's hard, having to face all the ways I failed you, but it's necessary. He paused. Ashley's in therapy too. She's starting to see things differently. Starting to understand how entitled she was. How she treated you. That's good. Growth is good. She wants to apologize. In person, would you be open to that? Not now, but maybe someday. I thought about it. Maybe, when she's ready. When it's not about her feeling better, but about actually making amends. Fair enough. Lucas pulled the cupcakes out of the oven. I did the actual oven part, but he wore the oven mitts and felt very involved in. We set them on the counter to cool. Now we wait, I told him. Cupcakes need to cool before we frost them. That's the hardest part. The waiting. Can I wait here while they cool? Please. I want to frost them. Mike looked at me. If it's okay with Grandma Mari. It's absolutely okay. You can pick him up in an hour. Perfect. I need to run to the hardware store anyway. Thank you, Mom. After Mike left, Lucas and I sat at the kitchen table with hot chocolate while the cupcakes cooled. He told me about school, about his friends, about the chapter book his teacher was reading to the class. Do you ever miss living with us, Grandma Mari? He asked suddenly. I thought about how to answer that. Honestly, but age-appropriately. I miss seeing you every day, I said. But I'm happy living with Miss Ruth. Sometimes grown-ups need their own space. That doesn't mean I love you any less. It just means I needed to take care of myself. Mom says you were sad when you lived with us. Were you sad? Sometimes, but I'm not sad anymore. Good, I don't like it when you're sad. I don't like it when you're sad either. So let's make a deal. We'll both try to be happy, okay? Okay. He held out his pinky. We pinky swore. When the cupcakes were cool, we frosted them together. Lucas made a beautiful mess frosting in his hair, on his shirt, somehow on his earbud. He was so proud of the finished product. These are the best cupcakes ever, he declared. They really are. Should we save some for your dad, and for Miss Ruth? Definitely for Miss Ruth. Mike came back at 3:30. Lucas showed him the cupcakes with the pride of someone who'd just completed a masterpiece. Mike praised them appropriately, took a photo, helped Lucas pack up for cupcakes to take home. At the door, Mike hesitated. Mom, I wanted to say I know I've said it before, but I want you to know I mean it. I'm sorry for all of it, and I'm grateful you're still here, still part of Lucas's life, still willing to give me another chance. You're my son, Mike. I'll always give you another chance. But I won't go back to how things were. That's not negotiable, I know, and I don't want you to. You deserve better than that. You always did. After they left, Ruth came back to the kitchen, looked at the cupcakes cooling on the counter. Those look good. Lucas did most of the work. You're good with him, Mari, patient, kind. You know what I think. What? I think this right here, this life you're building, this is what you were always meant to have. Not that house in West Hartford. Not taking care of people who didn't appreciate you. But this. Freedom, peace, time with the people who actually value you. You're right, I said. This is exactly where I'm supposed to be. That night, I sat down and finished my Christmas cards, added a few more. One to Pastor James at church, who'd checked on me every week after I moved out. One to Donna Chen, the lawyer who'd altered her daughter's wedding dress and who'd quietly mentioned that if I ever needed legal help with anything, she'd be happy to assist. One to Mrs. Patterson, who'd sent me a card last month just to say she was glad I was doing well. A whole community of people who'd shown up for me when I needed it most. The card to Mike and Ashley was still sitting on top of the stack. I picked it up, looked at it, and I realized something. I'd meant every word I'd written. I did forgive them, not because they'd earned it, but because carrying anger was exhausting, and I was done being exhausted. I sealed the envelope, stamped it, set it with the others to mail on Monday. Then I picked up my journal one more time, wrote one final entry for the night. To anyone reading this, someday maybe it's just me, reading back through these pages when I'm old. Or maybe somehow this story gets out there and helps someone else. Either way, here's what I learned. You are not required to set yourself on fire to keep other people warm. You are not required to shrink yourself to make other people comfortable. You are not required to accept crumbs when you deserve the whole meal. Family is important, but you're part of that family too. And you deserve to be treated with the same love and respect you give to others. If you're in a situation like I was, being taken for granted, being used, being treated like you don't matter, please know this. You can leave. It's scary. It's hard, but you can do it. And on the other side of that fear is peace, real peace, the kind that comes from knowing you chose yourself. I'm 58 years old. I live in my best friend's spare bedroom. I work from home as a seamstress. I see my grandson twice a month. I have money and savings, friends who care about me, and a life that's completely mine, and I've never been happier. That cake Ashley threw in the trash represented everything I'd given and everything they'd wasted. But it also represented the moment I finally woke up. So thank you, Ashley, for throwing away that cake, for showing me exactly how little my efforts meant to you. Because that's the moment I started meaning something to myself. And that's the only opinion that really matters. I closed the journal, set down my pen, looked around Ruth's cozy little house. Tomorrow, I'd mail those Christmas cards. I'd finish Mrs. Patterson's daughter's dress alterations. I'd start on the wedding dress commission that was due in February. I'd live my life, my way, on my terms, and that was enough, more than enough. It was everything. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever been taken for granted by the people you loved most, please do 3 things. Like this video so more people can find it. Share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Comment your own story. Have you ever had to walk away from family to save yourself? You're not alone. Remember, you are not selfish for having boundaries. You are not mean for saying no. You are not wrong for choosing yourself. Family should build you up, not tear you down. If you're in a situation where family is using you, taking advantage of you, or treating you like you don't matter, please know that you deserve better, and you can change your situation. It won't be easy, but it will be worth it. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here.